So hello everyone. So now we are starting with a important chapter for the new syllabus students, that is forensic audit, right? So if I talk about forensic audit, this chapter again it is applicable only for the new syllabus students and not for the old syllabus student. What do we mean by forensic audit? So forensic audits are not the financial audits. Forensic audits are not the normal financial audits. It is the not the normal statutory audits. What do you mean by forensic audits? It is one of the most important areas, one of the most emerging areas for chartered accountants, right? For all of you, one of the most emerging areas that you can actually explore in your career is forensic audit. But when can you apply for this forensic audits? What is this forensic audits? So if we talk about audit, normally we always understand that audit is not investigation. There are differences between audit and investigation. As an auditor, our powers are limited. We don't have exhaustive powers, right? We go audit on the sample basis. The evidences we obtain are only persuasive, right? And so as an auditor, our powers are limited. Now, suppose you have a good knowledge of the financial part as an auditor, and at the same time you have a good investigative mentality, right? मतलब बचपन में सोचा था somewhere down the line that I'll be joining CID, but हो नहीं पाया. You wanted to join CID, CBI, but landed up being a auditor. And somewhere down the line you have a good investigative mentality, at the same time you are a chartered accountant and you have good financial knowledge. Then you can apply in this very career, that is you can try to be forensic auditor. So what is forensic auditor? What is forensic audit? Basically, it's a financial investigation. It's a financial investigation, right? It's not an audit of the financial matters. It's a financial investigation that is done in response to an event. For example, nowadays, if we see in the practical life, when the insurance companies have to settle major claims like hundreds of crores, in many cases, for example, let us say, एक businessman ने क्या किया? What a businessman has done is that he has insured his godown, and there he has his 100 crores of stock. And suddenly what happens is that in a fire, all entire godown and the goods are destroyed, and the insurance company now has to pay a claim of 100 crore rupees. So now that their event has taken place. What is the event? That fire. The event is the fire which has led to the destruction of the goods of 100 CR, which the insurance company has to compensate. Now, before processing the claim, what the insurance company do is that they resort to forensic audit. Means it's a financial investigation. A forensic auditor is appointed and he conducts the entire thorough investigation. Now, whoever is the person who is appointed as an investigating authority, he must have a thorough financial knowledge at the same time, right? And he conducts the investigation. Whether that loss is a genuine one. Now, apart from the normal knowledge that we possess in audit, in forensic audit, he must have additional investigative mentality. For example, let me give you a real life example to explain you the concept further. Like I was discussing with one of the team of the forensic auditors and they were explaining me their practical case. So this was a similar case that 100 crore rupees, goods destroyed, and the insurance companies had to process a major claim. Now what happened is that again after a span of 8 or 9 months, again there was a destruction in the same company, and again they were asking for a big claim. Now the insurance companies decided to go for the forensic audit. So now what the forensic auditor did, you should know about it to actually know their mentality. How did they do the audit? So they were going through the CCTV footage, right? The CCTV footage. In one side of the screen, they played the CCTV footage of the fire that happened 8 or 9 months ago. And in another side of the screen, they played CCTV footage of the fire that was very recent. Now what happened is that in the CCTV footage that was played 8 or 9 months ago, when the fire took place, there was a certain response time before the manpower could come and start the evacuation. But in the recent crisis situation, in the recent fire, the response time was very less. And the humans actually came and they came very fast and started the evacuating process. They came very, very fast and started the evacuating process. At the same time, what they observed is that there was a difference in the pattern of burning. Like जलने के बाद कितने टाइम में, in how much time that particular thing catches fire and it gets converted. वो कितने टाइम में क्या हो जाएगा कि आग लग के it gets totally converted. Now there was a difference in the timing of both the events. In the first incident, that carton was comparatively taking more time to burn. And in the new incident, the cartons that were packed were taking less time to burn. So now that led the forensic auditors to think that the latest incident is a planned incident and not a natural incident. And on the basis of that, they conducted the audit. And it was proved that the companies were actually trying to get the advantage out of the insurance claims. And a major fraud was detected. So can you think the mentality of the forensic auditors, how they have to think? The modern scientific techniques, right? The modern scientific techniques, for example, fingerprint analysis, retina analysis, tracking of IP address, seeing the CCTV footages, everything comes into play. The forensic auditor has to have the knowledge of all of this. Similarly, in the banking sector, before processing major loans like 100 CR, 200 CR, 500 CR, they normally go for forensic audit nowadays. They normally go for forensic audits. And the forensic auditor has that complete knowledge of the financial event, as well as he has that good knowledge of the investigation part. And he applies the financial knowledge and the knowledge he possesses with respect to investigation and tries to detect the fraud in the organization. So forensic audit is a financial investigation that is done in response to an event. And the objective of forensic audit is the detection of frauds. What has led to the rise of forensic audits? Again, the major frauds that has taken place in India, like Satyam. Then we had the worldwide frauds like Enron, WorldCom. So that is why forensic audit came into picture. So combined methodology of audit and investigation. So the word forensic comes from the Latin word forensic, meaning of or before the forum. Forensic means suitable for use in the court of law. As we know that as an auditor, the evidences that we gather are not suitable for using in the court of law. That is why we say that those evidences are persuasive, not conclusive. But forensic means suitable for use in the court of law. Bolagna, he is the individual basically. He said that it is the application of financial skills and investigative methodology to unresolved issues conducted within the context of rules of evidence. As an emerging discipline, it encompasses financial expertise, fraud knowledge, and a sound knowledge understanding of business reality and the working of legal system. So if you as an individual, you feel that you have those financial skills combined with that investigative mentality, at the same time you have that good knowledge of the working of legal system, the understanding of the business, then you can apply to be a forensic auditor in your future life. We have certification courses for this as well. However, the definition of forensic audit keeps on changing in response to the growing needs of the corporation. Simply stated, forensic auditing includes the use of accounting, auditing, and investigating skills to assist in legal matters. And the objective of forensic audit is to detect the frauds in companies that suspected fraudulent transactions. What are the differences between forensic audit and financial audit? So this is very important questions for exam. So as per the applicability, if we talk about, then financial audit is mandatory for all the companies, whereas a forensic audit is a financial investigation that is done in response to an event. We know that the objective of financial audit is to ensure whether the financial statements reflects true and fair view. On the other hand, in case of forensic audit, the objective is detection of frauds. In financial audit, the quality that the auditor should have is professional skepticism. But in forensic audit, he should have an investigative mentality. In financial audit, the evidences that the auditor can collect is persuasive, and in forensic audit, it is conclusive. Financial audit is based on substantive and compliance taking, sample-based taking, whereas financial audit is based on substantive and compliance taking, sample-based taking, whereas forensic audit is based on investigative checking and detailed checking. So accordingly, you can go by the differences. They are very, very easy to remember and logical at the same time. What are the different areas of forensic auditor? What are the different areas of forensic auditors? So the major area of the forensic audit is fraud detection and fraud prevention. Many companies, for example, banks, before giving major loans, they resort to forensic audit. Their objective is not fraud detection, their objective is fraud prevention. The insurance companies, before processing the claims, go for forensic audit. Their objective is not fraud prevention in that case, their objective is fraud detection in that case. Then computer forensic audits, where computerized application, the knowledge of computerized application is used. For example, if you have seen a web series called as Asur, right? There is new web series known as Asur. If you have seen that web series, then computer forensic audits is used there. Providing expert testimony. This is another area of forensic audit. That is assisting in legal proceedings, including testifying in court as an expert witness. So if we talk about financial audit, his role is only to produce evidences before the management. Whereas in case of forensic audit, his role is not only to produce evidences before the one who have conducted the forensic audit, but at the same time assisting in legal proceedings. Right. So if we talk about areas of forensic audit, we have fraud detection, fraud prevention, computer forensic audits, and providing expert testimony. What are services rendered by the forensic auditors? What are the services rendered by the forensic auditors? तो एक चीज याद रखना, asking one question in different manner from the same person, or asking different set of questions from the same person, that is involved in the services rendered by the forensic auditors. एक ही सवाल को 10 अलग तरीके से पूछना and 10 अलग अलग सवाल एक इंडिविजुअल से पूछना, those are involved in services rendered by the forensic auditors, right? And for example, to know a particular answer, you can ask the same question in different ways. You can ask someone, how much time you studied yesterday? So he'll be telling, okay, I studied 8 hours or 9 hours, accordingly so and so. Another way to ask is, Acha, tell me how many times, what was your sleeping duration yesterday? How much time you devoted to web series? Okay, how much time it took you to eat your lunch, your dinner? And accordingly, you can cross-check whether both the information is same. So you can get to the same answer by asking the same question in different ways, right? So crafting questions to be posed, responding to questions posed, yani creating the questions, how the different questions should be asked to get the same result. Identifying documents to be requested. This is one of the major thing. Documents mangna hai, but we cannot ask for every document. Which documents are relevant for us? Then identifying the individuals, किससे सवाल करना है? Because asking questions to the wrong person in the initial stage might actually alert the real fraudster. So identifying the individuals who are most knowledgeable of facts. At the same time, you have limited time. So you should identify individuals who should be most knowledgeable of facts. Conducting the research relevant to the facts of the case. There are thousands of researches that can take place. There are thousands of investigative mentalities. There are thousands of procedures that you can do. But actually assessing, okay, what is the case and what is the research required in this particular situation is one of the most important qualities. Otherwise, you might waste your days, months, and incur a lot of cost, and actually resort to wrong procedures, wrong research. Identifying and preserving key evidence. Identifying what is the key evidence for you in your audit and preserving them. Evaluating the produced documentation. Documentation मिल गया, सबूत मिल गया, एक होता है कि मान लेना, okay, the document is fine. On the other hand, for example, you have asked for some year tickets. The management has produced the year tickets before you. But by seeing the year tickets, you can actually assess that, okay, this year tickets looks to be fake or genuine. Right? You have asked for some odd records, some evidences pertaining to case of 5 to 6 years back. Now, when you are seeing the printouts, what appears to do is that this paper seems to be a new paper. And this seems to come from a typewriting machine that does not exist 6 to 7 years ago. So that is analyzing the produced records, evaluating the produced records, identifying alternative means to obtain key facts and information. Right? So you have performed procedure A, conducted research A, but you are not getting the desired results. Then identifying the alternative means, how to cross-check, then cross-checking the facts. For example, asking the different questions from the same person, asking same questions from different persons, cross-checking the facts, Expert witnesses. You must have seen cross checking in Hindi movies. कैसे cross checking होता है? You know, in that court of law, how the lawyers do cross checking. So as a forensic auditor, you should have that knowledge as well. That knowledge of cross checking. वो knowledge भी चाहिए आपको. So these are services rendered by the forensic auditors. Importance of forensic auditors. They can resolve the matters by combining accounting knowledge and experience with respect to, as I told you, fraud detection, fraud prevention, risk management, investigative methodologies, right? Again, in internal control, implementation management takes the help of forensic auditors, because at the time of implementing the controls, they take the help of forensic auditors, that they can assist that what kind of internal control system is to be framed, so that there are no loopholes left in the controls. Evidences collection and analysis. Forensic auditors, high level forensic auditors, they are also assigned to work with regulatory agencies like SEBI, RBI, etc. and other critical areas, right? So importance of forensic auditors: fraud detection, fraud prevention, risk management, investigative methodologies, internal control implementation and review, compliance and regulatory functions, evidences collection and analysis, assignments with regulatory agencies like SEBI, RBI and other critical areas. Areas in which services of forensic auditors are in great demand, as I told you, insurance companies, settlement of insurance claims, as I told you, in the banking sector before giving the loans, then in dispute settlement, arbitration services, cases of professional negligence to identify whether the CA is guilty of professional misconduct or not, criminal investigation. Again, if you have seen the movie Asur, you will correctly know that the importance of forensic audit in criminal investigation, right? Risk control, dispute settlement, so all of these are there. Then after that, what are the characteristics of a forensic auditor? What are the skills that a forensic auditor should possess? So talking about the characteristics of forensic auditor. So as a forensic auditor, that normal thinking is not going to be sufficient. You should have that out of box thinking, right? That extraordinary thinking, strong visualization, strong imagination. Only then you can come to find to facts. For example, I told you that example of that how that fraud was detected in case of insurance company. So you should have that out of box thinking, that strong visualization, that imagination, curiosity. Then also we have something known as inquisitiveness, creativeness, right? Inquisitiveness, creativity. That is, you should be inclined to ask questions. You should be ready to ask questions. Discretion, skepticism, confidence, sound professional judgment. Your professional judgment should be very, very good. Right? You should be curious to ask many questions as possible to the right person, identifying the right individual. Out of box thinking, strong creativity, strong imagination, persistence, detail oriented. What are the skills as a forensic auditor that you should have? As I told you that you should have knowledge of auditing, accounting, the legal laws, the IT laws, right? The information technology, litigation process, data analytics. You should have good contacts with persons in different fields. For example, in politics, you should have different contacts. In law industry, you should have different contacts. In different industries, you should have different peers, different contacts. So as a forensic auditor, you should possess skills like auditing standards, procedures, related methodologies, accounting and business reporting system, information technology, data analytics, criminology legal framework, litigation process and procedures, investigative techniques, evidence gathering, network of professional contacts in related fields. Right. So characteristics of forensic audits, and then again forensic auditor should possess the following skills. Somewhere down the line, you might feel that services rendered by the forensic auditors, the answer that is given in the heading services rendered by the forensic auditors, that does not seem to be so logical. At the same time, importance of forensic auditors, that does not seem to be so logical. Areas in which services of forensic auditors are in great demand. So this is fine. So you might fill in some of the questions that the answer does not seem to be so logical. But again, you have to learn it, because the institute has given the same answers and we don't have any option, but we have to write the same answers there. We can make the answer more logical. I can make the answer more logical for you, and I can tell you that, okay, importance mein ye points likho. But that will not give you marks. You have to learn exactly the same points. Process of forensic audit. What is the process of forensic audit? So it is somewhere similar to audit. In a normal audit, first of all, a preliminary investigation is carried out, then planning is done, the evidences are gathered, the procedures are performed, and the reporting takes place. But in forensic audit, we have 2 or 3 extra steps. For example, the preliminary investigation, that is the additional step. Then after reporting, assisting in the court of law, that is the additional step. Right. Then performing the thorough analysis, like laboratory analysis, fingerprint, right? So using those scientific methodologies, that is the additional thing. Otherwise, the process is somewhere same like audit. Process of forensic audit. Step 1, initialization. What is initialization? Carrying out a preliminary investigation prior to the development of a detailed plan of action. Then developing a plan, developing a complete plan is very, very important. Obtaining the relevant evidence, that is very, very important. Obtaining the evidence, analyzing the evidence, then preserving the evidence until it is produced before the court of law. Performing the analysis, right? So different kind of analysis are there. For example, calculating economic damages, summarizing large number of transactions, performing sensitivity analysis. Step 5 is reporting, and the reporting is not the last step. Court proceedings, assistance in the court proceedings. So that is the last step in case of forensic audit. What are the forensic audit techniques? So again, there are different forensic audit techniques. For example, we have analytical steps. Analytical steps includes analyzing the business, understanding the business. मतलब analyze करना. Analytical means मतलब analyze करना. Understanding. You are not actually doing something. You are analyzing. You are understanding the business. You are identifying the fraud symptoms. Then technology steps. Using the technology to gather data about symptoms. Technology को use करना. For example, if you see the movie Asur, that entire data system of NIS, National Information Center, was hacked. Analyzing the results. Automatic detection procedures. If you see the movie Asur, this complete technology steps you can understand. What happened is to identify who is the villain. They use technology. That person was killing people on the basis of some kind of, nakshatra they have, the name and the date of birth. So the hacker, the government hacker, hacked the entire national information system, that complete website, that complete page where the list of all Indian citizens are available. And then they analyze results that, as per the population, how the terrorist is identifying the population and killing people. And then automate procedures was set up, that as and when someone will try to hack that system and filter out the names, they will get to know. Then investigative, that is investigating symptoms, doing the follow-up. So all of these are different forensic audit techniques: analytical steps, technological steps, and then we have investigative. Popular techniques used by forensic auditors: general audit techniques, right? General audit techniques. You have to step into the shoes of the suspect. Statistical and mathematical techniques, that is trend analysis, ratio analysis. Technology based techniques, for example, close scrutiny of relevant mails, accounting records, phone logs, hard drives. Computer assisted auditing techniques using CAT. As a normal auditor also we use the CAT technique, and as a forensic auditor also they use the CAT technique. Using the generalized auditing softwares. So using generalized auditing softwares, using computer assisted auditing techniques, this is something that even the statutory auditor does. So even the forensic auditor can do. Then using common software tools like Excel, Lotus, this again the forensic auditors will do. Using the data mining techniques, again this is something that the forensic auditor does. Laboratory analysis of physical and electronic evidences. So you can say this is something additional, laboratory analysis of physical and laboratory electronic evidences. Then we have technology based or digital forensic techniques. I can say this is something additional. Otherwise, general auditing techniques, statistical and mathematical techniques, computer assisted auditing techniques, using generalized audit softwares, MS Excel, Lotus, data mining techniques. This is something that even the statutory auditor does. Then we have points to be kept while reporting. Whenever the forensic auditor reports, what are the points that is to be kept in mind? First of all, his thinking must be very clear. He knows to whom he is supposed to report and what he is supposed to report. He must know what is his purpose of reporting. Keep the reader uppermost in mind. He must know the reader's point of view. He must know that who is the user of his report, and accordingly he must prepare the report. The report should be unbiased, completely unbiased. It should mention the facts as it is. Impact of the report. Right. Impact of the report should be kept in mind. And then, the forensic auditor in his report may present several facts and figures. But again, something that he should consider in mind is that in what sequence the fact should be presented. Sequence क्या रहना चाहिए? So sequence क्या रहना चाहिए? What sequence should be kept in mind? This is again the forensic auditor has to decide. That is the proper sequencing. Sequence क्या रहना चाहिए? So what are the points to be kept in mind while reporting? Clear thinking. To whom the report is directed? What is the purpose and aim of reporting? Pattern of presentation. Keeping the reader utmost in mind. Keeping the reader uppermost in mind. To visualize the reader's viewpoint. Translating technical matters to layman language, because as a forensic auditor, you must be using several technical language, but the user might not understand that. Unbiased approach, impact of the report, right, and proper sequence. Now, factors to be considered for various ways of presentation of written reports. When the forensic auditor prepares a written report, what are the various factors that he has to consider? So he has to consider the nature of the business, right? For example, if an insurance company has asked him to submit a forensic audit report, he should understand the nature of the business is that they are falling into the insurance sector, the nature of subject. For example, in the example I had given you, the nature of business is related to the processing of claims. For whom the report is intended, the purpose of report for example, once again, the purpose of report was the processing of claims, management attitude, direction and needs, because ultimately reporting is done to the management. So what is the management attitude, direction and needs? Forensic auditor's approach and caliber, that again is going to make a big difference, because ultimately what is your approach as a forensic auditor? That is something that will play a crucial role. And the extent of details required by the auditee and management. उनको कितना details चाहिए? How much detailed report they want? Accordingly, you must prepare the written report. So the various factors that are to be considered for various ways of presentation of written reports. You should consider the nature of business, the nature of subject for whom the reporting is to be done, what is the purpose of the report, what is the management attitude, direction and needs, the forensic auditor's approach and caliber, and extent of details required by the auditee and management. Sample table of contents of a forensic auditor's report. कि forensic auditor's report में क्या क्या आएगा? What is going to come? So again we have divided this into 6 categories. You don't have any other option but apart from learning it. The sample table of a contents of forensic audit report. First of all we have, you can remember all the different points from E. That is, there are 2 points from E. One is executive summary. पहले क्या करना है? Executive summary बनाना है. In the executive summary, the background is to be mentioned, the origin of the audit is to be mentioned, the objective audit, the scope of the audit, the pre-implementation approach, everything is to be given. Then, as per SA 315, we understand that as the auditor needs to identify the risk assessment that is done, the risk analysis that the forensic auditor has done, the internal environmental risk, the external environmental risk, so that is to be reported. Then the audit process, that is preliminary investigation, collecting evidences, asking the questions from different people, conducting interviews, conducting the research, obtaining evidences, all that will come. Then the evidence of risk events, obtaining the evidence of risk events. Now those risk events may be different. For example, it may be a bribery. For example, claim ke waqt, the bribe was given to the insurance officer to process the claim. So that bribery might be the risk event. Extortion, dhamkana, that is the insurance officer. The insurance officer was extorted that will kill your family, will kill you, process my claim. Ask the insurance company to process my claim. Theft, inventory fraud, misuse of assets, conflict of interest, audit recommendations. Then we have audit recommendations. And finally, we have governance on recommendation implementation. Governance on recommendation implementation. So we have the following elements in a forensic audit report. That's sample table of contents. First, we have an executive summary containing of the background of the audit, the origin of the audit, objective, right, audit implementation approach. Then we have risk analysis, that is internal environmental risk and the external environmental risk. Then we have the audit process, like conducting evidences, conducting interviews, analyzing findings. Then we have evidence of the risk events, for example, bribery, extortion, theft, conflict of interest, fraudulent transactions, inventory fraud. Then we have audit recommendations, and that should be a logical framework approach. And then we have governance on recommendation implementation. Let me tell you one thing. Your study module is not very clear on this chapter. So that is why I have my own limitations on teaching. For example, there are many contents that is given in your module which is not exactly logical and not actually matching with the heading. That is not actually matching with the question. But my limitation is that I cannot teach you the correct thing, because if I teach you the correct thing, you will not get marks in the exam. So that is why in this chapter I have that certain set of limitation that I have to teach you exactly what is given in the module, whether that is making sense or not. And you have to learn in the same manner. Right. So a bit of understanding and a more of rectification, that is to be involved. So if we revise the chapter once again, first of all, there was need of forensic audits. That is, because of the risk involved in today's scenario in corporate worlds, various frauds that took place like Satyam, and high profile corporate frauds like Enroll and Corporate Sandal, WorldCom. Then the meaning of the word forensic, that is coming from the word forensic, that is meaning of or before the forum, and forensic means suitable for use in the court of law. Then differences between forensic audit and financial audit, that was very simple. Then we had areas of forensic audit, like we took the bank example, fraud prevention. We took the insurance company example, fraud detection. We took the Asur web series example, computer forensic audits, and then providing expert testimony. Services rendered by the forensic auditors. Questions से related है. Crafting questions to be posed. कितना questions पूछना है, किससे पूछना है, कितने तरीके से पूछना है. Identifying documents to be requested. कौन सा documents मांगना है, किससे मांगना है. Identifying the individuals who have the knowledge. Research conduct करना है, but conducting the relevant research. Conducting the research relevant to the fact of the case. Evidence लेना है, but उसे preserve भी करना है. Evaluating the documentation that is produced by the management. Evaluating and analyzing the records that is produced by the management. Identifying alternative means if the first mean produced by the forensic auditor was not sufficient. And cross-checking the facts. Importance of forensic auditors. Once again, fraud prevention, fraud detection, risk management, investigative methodologies, assessing the management and framing the internal control system, compliance and the regulatory framework, evidence collection analysis, and coordinating with other regulatory agencies. Areas in which services of forensic accountants are in great demand, like we have criminal investigation, the movie Asur web series I told you, cases of professional negligence, arbitration service, fraud investigation, and risk control reviews, settlement of insurance claims, and dispute settlement. Characteristics of forensic audit: he should have that out-of-box thinking, creative thinking, strong visualization, then inquisitiveness, creativity, descriptive skepticism, confidence, sound professional judgment. What are the skills that the forensic auditor should possess? Like the auditing standards, accounting and business reporting system, information technology, data analytics, criminology legal framework, litigation process and procedures, investigative techniques, evidence gathering, and network of professional contacts in related fields. Process of forensic audit: initialization, developing of plan, obtaining evidences, preserving evidences, performing the analysis like calculating the economic damages, summarizing large number of transactions, performing sensitivity analysis. Then we have reporting, and then we have court proceedings. That is the additional step in forensic audit. Forensic audit techniques: analytical steps, technological steps, and investigative. Analytical steps matlab understanding the business, identifying the possible fraud symptoms, and technological steps means using the technology to gather data about the symptoms, analyzing the results, and automatic detection procedures. And then we have investigative, like the investigate symptoms and follow up. Popular techniques used by the forensic auditors, some are the common audit techniques like general audit techniques, statistical mathematical techniques, CAD, GAS, common software tool, data mining techniques, and then we have the advanced techniques like technology based techniques, laboratory analysis of physical and electronic evidences. What are the points to be kept in mind while reporting? Clear thinking, किसके लिए report करना है, what is the purpose, be cool, be calm, pattern of presentation, keeping the readers uppermost in mind, unbiased approach, impact of the report, don't jump to conclusion, proper sequence. Factors to be considered for various ways of presentation of written report, nature of business, नेचर ऑफ सब्जेक्ट, किसके लिए रिपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, मैनेजमेंट एटीट्यूड, डायरेक्टिव एंड नीड्स, फॉरेंसिक ऑडिटर्स ओन अप्रोच एंड कैलिबर, एक्सटेंट ऑफ डिटेल्स रिक्वायर्ड बाय द मैनेजमेंट. Sample table of contents of forensic audit report. We have executive summary, we have risk analysis, audit process, evidence of risk events, audit recommendation, governance on recommendation implementation. Right. Executive summary, that is considering of the background, the origin of the audit objective, proposed audit outputs. Risk analysis, that is internal environmental risk and external environmental risk, that is the risk analysis. Audit process, that is normal audit process, preliminary understanding of the scope, collecting the evidences, conducting the interviews, analyzing the findings, validating interferences, conclusions. Right. Evidence of risk events, like is that we have conflicts of interest, bribery, extortion, theft, fraudulent transactions, inventory fraud, misuse of assets, financial statement fraud, audit recommendations, and governance on recommendation implementation. That is considering the need of the stakeholder and as per the budget considerations, because everything involves a budget to it. So this is all that we need to remember in this very chapter, that is forensic audits.